Stream is starting. Boom! And we are live. Welcome everyone to episode 3 of Talking Heads on Craft Computing. I'm Jeff.
I'm Rett.
Welcome everyone. So Rett, we start every episode by, we start it right. Let's crack a beer. And, you know, last episode, crack yours too. Last episode that I had you on was episode 1, for those who watch this channel enough. We started a little awkwardly. I was so nervous about starting the show properly, and I went, you know what, I'm going to be polished, I'm going to be on this thing. It's going to be a great show. I'm not going to do what those other YouTubers do and, you know, forget my channel name or screw up the name of a beer. And you know what? Gosh darn it, I did both.
Yeah, I did too. My only defense is that I recall having a couple beers beforehand.
Yeah, we got started a little early last time.
Getting loose. This time we started with our glasses empty, so...
Well, you did. I had a cocktail before you came over.
Oh, great.
So, all right, so tonight we are drinking Lagunitas IPA from Petaluma, California. It is a 6.2%, so kind of right in the middle of where I've been lately. But
very honorable.
Good quality IPA. I've had this before. It's delicious.
Cheers, viewers.
Mm-hmm. If you join us, let me know in chat what you're drinking tonight. We'll toast you as you do it.
Dang.
So, unfortunately, not a lot of beer news this week. John and I started off last week by talking about the takecraftback.com. I don't know if you saw that one.
I have not.
Go look that one up. We played it last week on the channel.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Some guy started basically a crowdfunding campaign to buy InBev. He wants to buy Anheuser-Busch for $213 billion. So go watch that. They made a whole thing with Dollar Shave Club like video production values.
Nice.
It was good.
I'm on board with that. That's hilarious.
So we're going to jump right into tech news tonight because there was a big story that dropped earlier this week. And let's see if I got it set up right. I do. Excellent. OBS is behaving tonight. Good on you, OBS. Monday, it was revealed that Newegg has been named in a suit as a possible conspirator in a Ponzi scheme to the tune of almost $3 billion. Billion with a B. The suit itself is not new news. This all went down, I believe, in late 2014 from a company known as Manuel. And if you follow tech for a long time, they are the company that purchased what was Zalman Cooling. Zalman was, gosh, they were hot stuff back in the day.
I was going to say, they were like the king of cooling when I was first getting into computers.
I say hot stuff. They were cool stuff. They made these amazingly impressive coolers. And in fact, I believe I still have 2 of their coolers still in use. My server has one of the 92 millimeter... that like butter, that weird spiral fin thing. Yeah, I still rock a Zalman on my home server here. Anyway, they were bought sometime in 2013. Hey, drinking a Coppertail from Night Swim Porter. Excellent.
Nice.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Anyway, Zalman was bought, I believe, sometime in 2012 or 2013, and then shortly thereafter, like less than a year after, went out of business. And it was kind of a mystery why they did. It was later revealed that the CEO who purchased them was involved in a $3 billion, again that's billion with a B, US dollar Ponzi scheme. He schemed 10 not North Korean, sorry. He schemed 10 South Korean banks out of almost $3 billion in financing by basically proving he had enough sales through his various companies to warrant that amount of financing. Hey guys, look, we're doing great. Look at these sales sheets. Man, we are just making billions of dollars. I need the capital up front so I can continue manufacturing so we can keep buying stuff. It was and at that time he was found guilty by some courts. I believe this was all held in Korea. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison and had to repay $31 million in fines, which was basically all he had left in his bank account. And he defaulted on $500 million in loans. And everyone thought, well, that's where it ends. You know, this guy was found guilty. Zalman goes under. End of story, right? Oh, no. Oh, no. So on Monday, Newegg was named in a lawsuit from 4 of those Korean banks to the tune of $230 million as alleged co-conspirators in this whole scheme.
Oh my gosh.
Basically what is alleged, and this is all alleged at this point, we don't know if it is true, if it's not true. It sounds like there's a smoking gun though. Newegg conspired with ASI, which is a manufacturer of a bunch of Android TV, HDMI on a stick, home theater computers is what they call them. They're the little cheap Android things you can buy on eBay for $10 a pop. In forging fake documents to... Basically, Newegg said in documents, I'm going to purchase X amount of these devices from ASI. ASI said, I will sell you X number of devices for X price. The problem was X price was 300 times market value.
Oh.
And there's a great quote at the bottom of the article. Let's see, where is it at? No such. This is a quote from one of the plaintiffs in the case here. No such business would have bought the products at such an inflated price unless intended to create the illusion of extensive, profitable, high-value commerce between it and its suppliers for the purpose of defrauding lenders into supporting the transactions, end quote. Newegg forged documents that basically bought $8 HDMI sticks for something like $2,800 a piece.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't even close to... Like, oh, we're going to buy them at like twice market value or 3 times. And, you know, oh, we got a bad business deal. These were documents meant to defraud. And whether or not the transactions went through or not is still up in the air. Did Newegg actually purchase these for this price? Or did they buy them at market value, but then they made documents saying they bought them at 300 times market value, again, to show mass amounts of profitability for Manuel and his parent company. I don't want to be... doom and gloom and say this could be the end of Newegg, but God, this could be the end of Newegg.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. And, you know, when I was perusing the web, this article was at the top of every single, you know, news outlet, basically. And I was a little bummed at first, but we'll see how it plays out. I doubt that there would have been lawsuits filed if there wasn't, like you said, a smoking gun of some sort.
Exactly.
Because that just seems like a dicey gamble, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. The basically the way I read it was the Korean banks, they're out $3 billion. They sent $3 billion out. They only received so much of that back. Manuel, when he was convicted, defaulted on over $500 million on a remaining balance, and there's still a $230 million remaining balance that they can pin directly on Newegg. Like I said, there's a smoking gun there. It's not looking great for Newegg, and I kind of thought it might be the end of Newegg. Well, at least the Newegg that we knew and loved growing up when they were purchased last year by a Chinese e-tailer.
right.
And they started going to like an Amazon style marketplace where they allowed third-party sellers to come in, and they started carrying a lot of import stuff, which some of it was kind of cool. You know, you can go on there and you can buy a Chinese import dirt bike if you wanted.
Oh, heck yeah,
on
why
Newegg of all
not?
places. Oh, totally. I own one of those. They're not terrible. They're not great. I wouldn't recommend buying one. They get around.
Yeah.
But, you know, all of a sudden on Newegg, you can buy a Chinese dirt bike, 250cc for $1,300 shipped to your door. You can buy a bunch of other Chinese knockoff products. And the prices seem to steadily go up a little bit, and the customer service seemed to steadily go down a little bit over the last year or so. I haven't had to deal with their customer service directly in the last year, but I know in the past when I dealt with them out of Southern California, gosh, they were great. Never had an issue with them. as far as if I had an issue, I called them and it was fixed like that day.
Yeah.
And I've heard some real horror stories coming out the last year that, you know, people are just getting screwed because Newegg goes, oh, that was a third-party seller. Sorry, we owe you nothing.
Go figure.
And you know, just trying to play that card. And this may be the final straw. I don't know if Newegg has $230 million in capital. I highly doubt anyone's going to loan them $230 million in capital to get out of this thing. Boy, end of an era.
Yeah, sounds like it. You know, when I was first learning about computers, you know, my pastime of choice was to go onto Newegg, find the parts, and the way that I built my computers was with a PowerPoint presentation. And I would make sure, you know, like literally I would have each part that I bought its own slide, make sure everything was compatible and all this sort of stuff, and then the final slide was, you know, all the specs, making sure it was compatible. You know, power to cost and all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
And I bought primarily from Newegg for years.
Yep.
And, you know, I remember when I finally struck it out on my own, just, you know, for some reason just quit going on Newegg. And I did go on there probably once, probably in the last year, and I was like, what the heck? Like, what's going on?
Well, what was great is I looked over some of my past Newegg purchase history recently. And
Chinese knockoff dirt bikes and
actually that was a Craigslist find. Believe it or not, I traded a guy a Dell Venue 11 Pro. I bought a little convertible laptop and he had it on Craigslist and I traded that straight across for it.
Oh,
so yeah,
nice.
that was sweet steal for me. And I've got the title even. Yeah, I was using them all the way back in 2003, 2004 for some things. I looked up one of my very first brand new computer builds, I think was in 2007. And I had put together an AMD Athlon X2, I believe 4200 CPU on a 939 motherboard with 2 gigabytes of RAM to go with my ATI X1800 graphics card. Oh, I was king of the world, man. Absolutely was. And I had it in a... ITX wasn't really a form factor back then, but I had it in one of those cube ATX cases. And it was bright yellow and...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, if anything screamed mid-2000s, that was that computer.
You could play the heck out of Quake 3.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2. Yeah. Or Jedi Outcast, rather.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, sad to see Newegg and mix up in all this.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to keeping my eye on this. You know, it's a scandal that you know, honestly doesn't have much bearing on my life, which is sort of refreshing.
That's not a political scandal or
yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting news story, and I am interested to see how it develops. And I hope you know the allegations are false. But you know,
I wouldn't count on it.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, there was another big thing that hit recently, and that was the much-touted, highly anticipated USA versus Japan Mech Warrior Showdown.
Yeah, I've been super excited about this pretty much since the first time I, you know, read about it, like probably a year ago or more. And then I was super excited because they were talking about how it was going to be open to spectators and all this sort of stuff. But then as time went on, you know, the details kept shifting, and you know, they didn't want anybody to get hurt. So then they kept changing the time and the place, and they were gonna, you know. And I was really excited because I planned an unrelated trip to Japan, and the next you know headline that I'd read was that the fight was going to happen while I was there.
Nice.
And I was like, I can go out of my way to go see Giant
We
Robots
will find
fight each
tickets.
other. But they kept the location secret. And actually, I think I read some other time that it was like on some island off the coast of Japan or something. I don't know what. But I was really excited about this. And of course it aired. I watched it live because I'm a dweeb.
Oh, totally.
And you and I were talking about this before the show started. I'll start by saying I loved it. Cheesy as heck. But, you know, you brought up the comparison with the WWE, and I have to say that, come on, everybody knows that the WWE is staged. and fake.
No. What I said was the WWE would have been embarrassed by the acting quality in this show.
The acting was god awful, but I really enjoyed it. And then the big scandal, quote unquote scandal, was that they filmed it over the course of like 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, they marketed it as this 30-minute showdown of two behemoth bots going head-to-head against each other live in front of a studio audience kind of thing. and it wasn't that at all. They turned it into this over-dramatized, reality TV-like, way too much drama. Not only that, the announcers knew way too much about everything.
Yeah.
It was... oh man, you see how they upgraded those cannons? Mo, and those things will shoot 2,000 feet per second. This is the first BattleBot match you've ever watched. I don't care who you are, you've never seen these things throw down before. Don't act like you're an expert on this.
Oh, the servo motor's on the elbow joint, give it a... Yeah, there's no way that they could possibly... they probably... Yeah, they're obviously all in cahoots. I mean, remember the part where, like, the girder was, like, falling down on the...
Oh, no! And the whole camera crew's trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, it was great.
It's pandemonium here.
Look, the thing is I wonder how much of it was kind of put together by American producers. Because it reeked of Japanese TV.
Oh, it totally did.
And I watched a lot of Japanese daytime TV while I was there, and I have to admit, it's the cheesiest thing, but I loved it.
Oh,
I loved it so much.
Totally.
But yeah, I don't... It is a little disappointing that, I don't know. There could have been a little bit less scripting to it, and it still could have been just as enjoyable.
Yeah, I would have been just fine. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. I'll put a link in the video description here once we've gone.
It's worth your time.
It's worth your time to watch it. It's 26 minutes long, and like I said, if you're a fan of the WWE, if you're a fan of BattleBots, if you're a fan of, gosh, what was that? Scrapyard Wars back in the day on Discovery.
Oh yeah, Scrapyard Wars, Junkyard Wars.
Junkyard Wars, yeah. I love shows like that. It's like, go to the junkyard and find the best parts you can, and we're going to build X car. And they go, there's an old clapped out motorhome over there. Would you look at that? There's an LS6 700 horsepower in that thing. How did that get there? That's what this show felt like.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of those shows, go watch it. But if you didn't watch it, just to catch up real quick, they touted it as this Japanese versus American engineering going head-to-head, and the first bout lasted 6 seconds. And it was the Japanese bot going forward and slammed the American bot with a fist and knocked it over. Then the Americans miraculously had a second bot ready to go, waiting in the wings. And they brought it out, and the American bot won the second match. Because all of a sudden it like pulls a chainsaw off of its back and starts tearing into the other one.
Well, that, and I remember reading about like the weight difference between the second bot and the Japanese bot, and it was astounding. It was like 4 times as heavy.
Yeah.
And all of the...
Well, supposedly.
Yeah, well, okay, true. It's not like I was there.
I don't take any of those specs at face value.
Tricorder in hand, just like, oh, wow, 4 times the mass. Can you believe it?
Would you look at the steel composition on that?
It's high carbon steel with trace elements of, I don't know. I took that joke way too far.
Of unobtainium.
Yeah, there you go.
You started, I'll finish it.
Actually, it was vibranium, okay? God, get a grip.
Why did I even invite you on this?
The debate between vibranium and adamantium can happen on the next time I'm here.
Did they make sure the gel packs were within date?
Right?
Don't go geek on me.
I know.
Okay, we're getting way off topic here.
We're in the sticks.
In a battle of 2 mech warriors, we're getting way off topic.
Now, what I found interesting was, the next article. And to me, I don't know. I was trying to think about the real-world applications for giant robot fighting. Mm-hmm. Don't think there is any. I was excited about... They're talking about establishing a giant robot fighting league.
Yes.
Which I didn't read too much into, but... Oh, whoops, this is the same one.
Oh, is it?
Yep, right below that one.
Oh.
You're covered up.
Covered up. There we go.
Let's try it again.
Don't open it there. I want you to open it here. It's okay. I wasn't on OBS anyway, so now I can screen transition. Maybe. There we go.
There we go. So yeah, these people are really passionate about this idea, and I agree. This would be great. Why not? Over-dramatize it.
Totally. I believe Simone Giertz did a quick YouTube piece on. They actually went out and she viewed this robot first person.
Oh, really?
And she said it was impressive as heck. If I can find that video, I'll link hers down in the description as well. But yeah, she went out there and actually like got to control the bot, and she said it was the time of her life.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, how did they... That's one thing that interests me. These guys make this robot. How did they go, like, okay, who's going to control it in the fight,
Right.
That's got to be, like, yeah. Well, your hand was up first, which means you're too eager. Probably too much bravado for what we're looking for.
I'm prepared to die for my...
But I would love to see it in the same vein, like you said, battle bots. Something with some drama and a little bit of cheese is totally cool. But if we get to see giant robots duke it out, even if it's a little scripted, I think it's going to be time well spent.
Yes.
And if they introduce some sort of aspect of, like sports competition to it with, leaderboards and a bracket and all this sort of stuff, there could be some interesting stuff happening.
There could be some interesting things as long as the competition is legit. I think that's the main key to all this. If it's just scripted, if it's WWE bullcrap,
right.
I don't think anyone's going to buy it.
Right.
If you can make this like BattleBots, where it's a genuine competition, where it's genuine engineering going up against genuine engineering, I think there's something there. I think the problem you're going to run into is twofold. I think it's safety, and I think it's cost.
Yeah, you're right. The cost is going to be ridiculous.
Even if they had remote pilots on these, you're talking about 4-ton machines that are going to break through really any material that we can possibly put around the arena and still be viewable by the general public. With machine guns and cannons and everything else, which will devastate any material in the arena. And how do you fund all that?
Fair enough. I imagine the insurance alone is just like ridiculous.
Oh no, we're talking self-insurance at this point, my friend.
You know what? Don't shatter my dreams for a giant robot fighting league, okay?
Yeah.
There's still hope. Now, going off of this a little bit.
Sorry, not to interrupt you. Someone asked about seeing my X79 build. It's actually sitting right over here. So we're going to talk about our next point, which ties directly into here. I'll actually go grab it, and I'll show you how it lives today. So stay tuned. So anyway, into the next topic here.
Okay. Well, so tying in with the giant robots thing, recently some scientist engineer types created a...
I love those guys.
I know. Created basically a robot, and the word that they've been throwing around, which I wasn't a fan of at first, but it's grown on me, is puppet.
Yeah.
Which is actually exactly what it is.
Totally.
They've created this robot puppet that, if you're watching the video here, you can see that he's controlling it with the HTC Vive controllers in his hand.
Yep. He's got 2 Vive controllers in his hands, and then he has Vive trackers, 1 on his chest and 2 on his feet. And what the computer is doing is it's translating his motions 1-to-1 to the robot's motions. I don't believe they've integrated the claws yet, but that's just a simple, pull the trigger and the servos close kind of thing. But they're getting really good results on this. And God, I'd love to see this in a robot fighting league.
Right.
But I think this has some pretty big implementations when it comes to, we were talking about this before the podcast, disaster recovery, search and rescue, basically bomb robot 2.0.
Yeah.
We've got the bomb robots that the bomb squad has for a lot of police departments that are the little rovers with a couple cameras and some buttons on them and whatnot. And there's been some competitions from DARPA in the past to how can we get a bipedal robot or a multi-terrain robot to get into devastated areas, places hit by hurricanes, places hit by earthquakes, places hit by whatever the cause may be, going into a burning building. How can we get eyes in that building and make it a natural implementation so we don't have to have a robotics expert piloting this thing.
Yeah.
I think this has big implementations for something like that.
You know, and it's funny because, you know, I think last time when I actually had you on my podcast, we talked a lot about the implications of the current VR technology. And while just the Vive controllers in and of themselves isn't necessarily VR technology, they're a huge part of it and a huge part of why it feels so organic when we play it, because you got that one-to-one movement tracking. This is exactly the type of thing that I hoped to see.
Yeah.
And like you said, it has big implications for disaster relief and that sort of thing. Because all of a sudden, now we can put something on the ground in situations that's too dangerous for, you know, a human being. Like, imagine this in some sort of like nuclear reactor meltdown.
I was just thinking Fukushima.
Yeah, exactly.
Think of the robots that they had to take into Fukushima to keep an eye on the reactor. Think about, what if you don't have someone who's trained on that device? What if you don't have someone who knows how to pilot this, operate it? You can literally strap some sensors onto someone and have them walk in naturally to a space.
Yeah.
And you could even do it with, we've seen some VR treadmill-like platforms that have come out.
Yeah.
Obviously a little bit cumbersome for remote operation, but natural movement, you know, intuitive movement is, they're proving that it can be done.
Yeah, we're only like a stone's throw away from that, you know, the Bruce Willis movie where they, you know, live in their little robot bodies. Oh, God, what is that movie? I brought this up last time on the show, I think.
Wow, what was that? Yeah, you did, and I don't think we could think of it then either.
Dang it. It starts with an S.
Yeah. Surrogate.
Surrogate. Yes. Yeah, we're like a stone's throw away from Surrogate now. Like, look at, imagine this. You lay down your little VR, you know, you got the thing on, you lay there, and you just like control it or whatever. And you get to control your little robot out in the world.
You know what I say? I say wake me up when you bioengineer an avatar.
Yeah, there you go.
And let me control it from my stasis pod.
Yeah, why not?
Totally. I'd be down for that.
That'd be fun. But yeah, big hopes for this technology in the future. Yeah. I really want to see. I really want to see where this can go. Yeah. You know, and even though it's one-to-one movement, it'd be interesting, obviously, if it's built durably and all this sort of stuff, so that you can go in there and it's okay. You can go in there and let's, you know, a bombing or something, and there's rubble everywhere and there's people buried. You can go in there with this robot and they can just lift rubble and debris off of people, and you know, it could be very interesting.
So someone asked about my X79 build. Here it is. It is still complete. It's still here. That was my power supply cables taking some stuff off the counter over there. The only difference is, if you watched my Ryzen build video, I built a system for my brother-in-law. He is borrowing the GTX 1070 out of this. The only difference is I threw in a GT 630, because, gosh, I am running out of video cards. If you, let's see, I bought a 1050 Ti. That's in my Mac Pro, which is actually running this stream right now. I own a 1080, which, if you watched the video 2 weeks ago, caught fire, which EVGA did agree to warranty. I'll actually have that card back on Friday, I believe, if tracking is accurate. So I'm super stoked about that, and I can finally start getting that guy behind me put back together. Oh, it's been too long. I miss you.
I'm sorry, baby.
I'm sorry. You know I treat you right. The GTX 1070 is on loan. The only other card that I have that's even decent at all is a GTX 760, and that's currently running that rig behind me. So it still lives. It still works. I use it from time to time. I'm still working on getting my VR rig set back up in my house. But yeah, it still works, and it's still good to go. Yes, did I flash the overclock BIOS from the Russian site? I did not, and the reason I have not done that is this CPU is not overclockable. This is a Xeon E5 2667, and I had some questions in one of my videos about why I went with the 2667 over a 2670, which is an 8-core versus a 6-core. The reason I went with the 6-core is the 2670 8-core is clocked at 2.6 gigahertz. And it only turbos to 2.9. If you want to use it for a gaming machine, it's not the greatest chip you can buy, especially because a lot of games don't run multi-threaded. They don't take advantage of all those threads. The 2667 has a base clock of 2.9, but actually turbos all the way up to 3.7 on its own. So no overclock needed. Single core performance is well and beyond what the 2670 is. And this chip was only $60. So when I built the system with the GTX 1070, the total system build cost was $740.
Oof.
So for
not too bad.
Really a very, very respectable machine. Now, my original recommendation on the X79 board in here was a recommendation. I highly recommended it as a money-saving device. I'm going to take that a half step back. And the reason is because of the... Every word I wanted to say was a swear. Was the USB controllers on this board. I have had nothing but problems with finicky USB connection. The USB 3 do not transmit at full bandwidth. I've had problems with webcams. I've had problems with my Vive trackers not transmitting properly. And some devices just not being recognized at all. Jeez. On the USB 2.0 controllers, I've had problems, I believe, with an overcurrent, where I plug one device in and it works fine. I plug another device in right next to it, and both devices die. And so I can't say I'm 100% behind this board. It is still the cheapest X79 platform you can get. But that being said, especially with Ryzen costs continuing to fall, you can get a 6-core Ryzen chip for $180 now. Now, I know DDR4 is still very expensive. Yeah, he says the E5 1600s are unlocked. I know, and I really thought about getting an E5 1650, which is a 6-core, 3.3 gigahertz chip that is unlocked. I still wouldn't trust this board to more than the 3.9 that I could do on the stock BIOS because, as mentioned in the original video, there's no VRM heat sinks on this. And so heat is going to build up on my voltage delivery. I don't know that I trust it to go that much further, even with this fan blowing directly on top. So, again, great value platform, but I wouldn't expect enthusiast performance out of this. So, yeah, thanks for the question. Glad I could answer something live on camera. That's kind of fun.
Might not get the enthusiast performance, but nothing wrong with economy performance.
Nothing wrong with economy. She's not a looker, but she's a second-gen Honda Civic hatchback. She gets the job done, and she's fun to drive. You know, in all honesty, it's better to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow.
Oh, totally. Totally. I totally agree with that.
I've always lived by that. It is more fun to drive a Honda Civic sideways around a corner than a Corvette straight line 65 on the freeway.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's a great case as well. I love that case. I'm a little disappointed that the acrylic is so scratch heavy. It's the Cooler Master Masterbox Lite 3.1. I love that case. And another dumb question. There's no dumb questions. There's just some dumb people. No, I'm kidding. When I mentioned turbo clocking, that is the self-boosting turbo. All Intel processors, and in fact AMD processors do this as well. They give you a base clock, and then they'll say a turbo clock. And the turbo clock is basically a self-boosting overclock that the chip is capable of. The 2667 will boost to 3.7 gigahertz on its own for 1 and 2 core performance, and it will hold a 3.4 gigahertz clock under all cores with no overclocking needed. So 3.4 gigahertz, 6 cores, solid deal. Again, $60 for that chip, $120 and change for the board, $100 for the RAM. You got a solid little platform there. You're not going to push it much beyond that, but solid platform.
Great.
So, sorry, I know that was kind of off the cuff, but
no,
hey,
that's the best part about live.
It's fan service. I got to keep them happy, man.
I mean, plus I got to get halfway through beer number 2, so.
Oh man, you are.
So
hold on.
Hey, well, you know, you can join me up here if you want.
Cool.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a huge fan of IPAs, but Lagunitas.
They have grown on me in the last couple years. I didn't used to be a fan of IPAs. Of course, living in Oregon, that's all we get in the summer.
God, I know. It's the worst. You know, and I've grown attached to a couple different IPAs.
Yeah.
You know, I like, you know, I don't know what. I guess technically the term is wet hopped IPAs.
Yeah.
I like anything that has almost like a little bit more fresh taste.
Yeah, you don't
to
like
it.
the dry, because we get a lot of dry IPAs here too.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this is. It's probably dry hopped, like all IPAs are, but it's smooth, it's drinkable, and it's super rich flavor.
It's super rich. It's got this citrusy taste to it as well. That's really solid.
Color. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Oh, it's a beautiful beer. It pours really well.
They've become one of my favorite brewers.
Yeah,
so.
but really crisp tasting, but again, without being too dry.
Yeah.
So really solid.
This is almost more on like a pale ale level than an India pale ale, just in terms of like the hoppiness. So if anybody's on the fence about it, it's not super hoppy. I mean, it's got hops in it, but...
Yeah. He says, I'm running an X58 with an X5660. And the X79 has been tempting. What X58 board do you have? That's my question. Are you running a Chinese X58 or are you running a consumer X58? Like an Asus or an EVGA or MSI or what do you got?
Well, he says the Chinese X79 is what he's been eyeballing.
He's interested in the Chinese X79, but he's currently running an X58. And I was kind of curious what X58 platform he's on. If he's going Chinese to Chinese, sure, upgrade. What the heck? If you have a consumer X58 board, like a major manufacturer, I would actually look at the i7-990, which is their Extreme 6-core, which is an overclockable SKU. And on one of those boards, you will get really, really good performance. Yeah, Asus P6T. Good board. I would not upgrade to the X79 platform unless you were going to go with like a 10-core chip or something like that. But then again, if you're only gaming, you're not going to get single-core performance out of that. You're going to be locked to like 2.2 or 2.4 gigahertz. I would look for a slight CPU bump because the 2660 is, what, a 2.8 or a 2.93 gigahertz, if memory serves proper. Go and find either an i7-990, which is the Extreme Edition i7 for the X58, or an X5690. Yeah, X5690, which is the 3.46 gigahertz 6-core chip, and that'll give you some extra single-core performance. Oh, you're already overclocked to 4.5? Don't upgrade. Stick with your X58. Stick absolutely there. You're not going to get that much of a performance boost, if any at all. In fact, if you go with the Xeon chip, you'll probably lose some performance. And like I said, with the Chinese boards, with the kind of sketchy cooling, and all the issues that come with the USB and some other things, no, not worth it. If you're looking for absolute value in a first build, sure, it's great. Don't upgrade from that board. You still got a couple years on that one. All right, let's look at this one because this one kind of intrigued me.
Yeah, kind of off the back of this, the spirit of what we were talking about with the robot puppet. This is the same vein, and and I said it earlier, but I'm back from a recent trip from Japan, and living on the west coast of the U.S. Like we do, there's been a lot of talk in recent years of the big one. Yeah.
They've been saying that since the day I was born and 40 years before it.
Yeah.
So we're just waiting for Mount Hood to blow and kill us all. I know I gave the Midwest a lot of crap last week if you watched the show. I said, why would you live in an area that actively tries to kill you? And here I am sitting next to one of the only active volcanoes in the U.S. So
yeah. Good luck, us. Roll the dice, though. Because, I mean, have you seen... the West Coast is beautiful. Ravaged by wildfires as of late, but we're hanging in there.
Yep.
But so with concerns of the big one looming large, earthquake infrastructure has been on my mind a lot lately. I go into some of these like historic downtown buildings, and I just imagine how I'm going to survive. For 2 days trapped under rubble without
spoiler
food,
alert,
water.
you're not.
No, I know. So great, thanks.
Sorry.
Now all I can think about is just like them pulling my body out of the rubble.
Have you seen those
With a
buildings
robot
downtown?
puppet.
They're like circa 1910. They have not been updated
There's
at all.
no structural integrity. In fact, I work at this theater a lot of times, and the back wall of the stage is just a brick wall that goes 3 or 4 stories up.
Yeah, it's a sheer brick wall.
There's no structural integrity there.
There's not even rebar. It's just brick.
Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's a great historic downtown building, beautiful as heck, great usable space. We're all dead if something happens in there.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking forward to that. But with questions of the big one, I've been thinking a lot about earthquake infrastructure, and it's up on the screen now. So take a look. This is super fascinating to me. I just came back from Japan, where they have, you know, one of the best earthquake detection systems in the world, and that intrigues me. And I was wondering a lot why we couldn't do something like that here. And these,
it turns out we might be able to.
Yeah, and this is great because, like you said, they're going to implement existing fiber lines to create an earthquake detection grid. And they did it in a small area that was able to even pick up on the 8.1 Mexico quake.
Yeah, and this was in Stanford, I believe. Yeah. So Stanford basically set up one of their intranet lines, intranet, not internet. So fiber that they own with this detection system. And what it is you put a module at 2 ends of a fiber line, and they calculate what's called the backscatter. Whenever you send light through a fiber optic line, there's a certain amount of bounce back that happens from that light. And it happens with every fiber line, and you get a certain signal strength on the other end of it, depending on how clean that laser made it through. What they do is they measure the amount of light that has bounced back that is waste, that is what they call backscatter. And based on that, they were able to detect the fiber line moving just enough that was not caused by wind to pick up the quake in Mexico that happened recently. And the really cool implementation or implication of this is that whenever an ISP or a city or a private organization runs fiber, they never terminate at all. The organization that I work with, we run 12 or 24 strands of fiber between our buildings. We're only using 2 or 4 of those. We're not using a whole lot. And we're still getting 10 gigs of connectivity. And in fact, at my sites, we could actually go all the way up to 100 gigs of connectivity on those 2 strands of fiber. It's amazing. There's a whole bunch of unused fiber that's just sitting on the poles there. If the organizations would agree to just let us put a couple of sensors on the end of that and internet connect them, we could get an early detection system. And early detection for earthquake is huge because, like I said, let's say an earthquake hit in Stanford that would have damaging effects in Los Angeles. You know, I mean, a good distance away. Even if you can get 20 seconds of an earthquake is coming, that's huge. That's the difference between people dying and people living in some cases.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning in Japan the alert system that they have.
Yeah.
They're able to stop subway trains. They're able to stop elevators and open doors. They're able to alert operating rooms so surgeons put their tools away. They're able to do all these things that all you need is 20 seconds. Oh, the light up there went off. Oh, grab my tools and brace.
And that's all you get in Japan too.
Right.
And granted, I will say that their detection system works off of like the subsonic waves that, you know, you've seen it in movies and TV shows. An earthquake happens and birds scatter. And everybody's like, hey, what's happening? And dogs go crazy and animals go crazy.
Yeah.
What's happening? Then the earthquake hits and everybody's tumbling around for 5 minutes.
Right.
Those waves that those animals pick up are the waves that they detect in Japan to brace essentially for impact.
Yeah, but they embedded geosensors all throughout the country.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
And we can't exactly do that in the U.S. But in the U.S., we have fiber along pretty much every major highway in the U.S.
Yep.
And this is certainly a system that could be implemented.
Well, look at this. A small system in Stanford was able to detect several earthquakes, including one, you know, I don't know the exact distance between Stanford and Mexico.
It's a ways if you own a globe.
But it is a ways, and they detected it. And not only that, but they were able to detect a bunch of minor quakes as well. This is one small isolated system. Imagine hundreds of small systems or hundreds of small interconnected systems. The possibilities are huge.
Yeah, and like I said, I recently had a fiber quote that was 17 miles long, and they were going to pull us 48 strands. We were only going to use 2. And so there's a lot of unused fiber out there that we could implement a system like this.
Yeah.
And like I said, in an earthquake, 10 to 15 seconds is all you need.
Yeah.
If you can get a text message to someone so they can pull out their phone and go, oh, brace, that's all you need. If you can set off a light or a siren or
anything,
some kind of system that...
Students to get their head under the desks, surgeons to get their knives out of people, elevators lock open, anything like that. It's paramount.
Totally.
I mean, think about how many people die every time you read about a major earthquake.
Yeah, there's also fiber along rail lines. Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah.
And here's my question. I don't remember if it addressed it or not in the article, but does it have to be unused fiber?
I believe the system that they had in place did, but I don't believe there's any reason in the world it couldn't be it couldn't be used fiber.
Right.
Right now, they just took 2 of their unused lines and they tapped them and they were able to detect this. There's no reason in the world that you couldn't calculate this with a device on a currently running and passing data line. So
yeah, I'm excited about this. I think it's going to be a cheap, effective way to implement some sort of earthquake preparedness on the West Coast, because the big one's coming. Who knows when? It could be 40 years, could be 400 years.
Yep.
But supposedly it's coming.
Yep.
I don't want to say it's not, because then it's going to happen tomorrow and everyone's going to be like, well, I got this from Craft Computing that they said it's not.
He's liable for damages on my house. Thank you.
Insurance companies worldwide contact you.
Craft Computing offers no warranty, express or implied, for watching this channel.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Man, you're almost through your second one? Man, I'm only... I guess...
Well, you're catching up.
We're a little closer than I thought.
Yeah.
We're not bad. Okay. I feel a little better about myself.
So, that's exciting.
Yep.
I hope to see people pushing this technology a little harder, because it doesn't seem like it takes much to implement.
It doesn't take much to implement. The devices could be fairly inexpensive. I mean, obviously you need something a little bit better than the Raspberry Pi in each end, but you need a fiber optic sensor. But
just hook up 2 Raspberry Pis.
There you go. Rhett's got all the answers.
Wait until the Raspberry Pi 4 comes out, or 5, or whatever.
Yeah, I hear the 4 is supposed to have 10 gig internet or Ethernet. Probably not.
Probably not. Still, great bang for your buck. Don't knock on the Raspberry Pi.
Oh, I love Raspberry Pis.
Okay.
I love Raspberry Pis. I mentioned that in the show last week too.
I couldn't quite understand the craze for the Super Nintendo Classic. When you could just buy a Raspberry Pi for $40.
Right.
You don't even need an enclosure. I mean, you could get an enclosure
and play all of your homebrew games.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's cheap.
It's cheap. It's totally cheap. In fact, for Christmas last year, I built my wife's sister a... She goes, I want the NES Classic, and her husband was going to go blow $200 on Craigslist on one of the scalpers ones, and I went, whoa. Let me buy you a couple of really good controllers, and I'll throw you together a Raspberry Pi. So for Christmas, I gave her a Raspberry Pi with every NES game that she grew up with as a kid, and
there you go.
It cost me $70 with the controllers and the case and the SD card and everything else. So.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
And, I guess it might be shameful.
Right.
But not as shameful as buying up all of these new Super Nintendo minis or whatever and jacking up the price by...
I flag every one of you jackasses on Craigslist. Every single one I report.
Good.
I don't know if it does anything, but I flag every one of you because it pisses me off.
He flags you with a middle finger, and that's all, because you're worthless. And I stand by my words.
Yeah.
You're a carbuncle on the behind of humanity.
You're a jackass and you should be ashamed of yourself.
But seriously, I've been seeing it everywhere. Just buy a Raspberry Pi. You can get the, what do they call it? The RetroPie OS.
There's plenty of tutorials online. It's super simple to do.
It takes you
legally obtain your files.
Yes.
Craft Computing offers no warranty, express or implied. And just do it yourself. It's super simple to do. And don't get the $7 cheap Chinese controllers, the USB controllers. Buffalo makes a really solid one.
Yes.
It's like $15 on Amazon, 15 or $20. You can get as good or better than the original SNES or NES controllers, depending on your flavor.
With even wireless capability.
With wireless, and they're fantastic, and you'll be so much better off for it.
And if you're a sucker for nostalgia, buy the cases that look like the consoles.
They sell a NES or SNES, depending on your flavor. You can buy a case for your Pi and showcase it all nice. So seriously, do that.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my rant off topic for the day.
Yes. So I think we're gonna skip.
Yeah, no problem.
If that's cool with you.
No problem. Yeah.
You're a we'll call you an amateur game developer.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, that's accurate. Amateur.
Game Dev Quest is Rett's podcast. You can find that on iTunes and streamable. And
yeah, we're on Stitcher.
Yeah,
we're on my website's airpodcast.com, which houses all my podcasts. And we're on Apple, and I think we're on Google Play and your favorite podcasting app. Just search Game Dev's Quest. Yeah, emphasis on amateur.
Well, you got more coding skill than I do, so we'll give you that. Best I can do is a little bit of light Python, which I use as a scripting engine. Please don't hurt me.
Oh, well, that's all right. We can let it slide. Since craft computing is primarily hardware based, we can let it go.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I am a hardware guy. I'm not a software guy, but anyway, Cuphead as an indie game. With no DRM, with no loot crates, with no we're going to sell you half the game now and half the game through DLC later, with no cosmetic kits.
Yeah.
Has sold 1 million copies in 2 weeks of being out on the market.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
First of all,
a million copies.
To any aspiring indie game devs out there, this is not the exception that proves the rule. It's simply the exception to the rule. You're not going to be able to reboot, because Cuphead's like a reboot of like an old school platformer, right?
Yes, it's a platformer, but it's not like a Mario platformer. I actually attributed a lot to the old Disney platformers. There was Lion King for the Genesis was one, Aladdin.
Okay.
There's also a lesser known one, Mickey's Magical Quest.
Yep.
That one was a great one. That's the style that this is in.
Okay.
It's a very overly cartoony style. The physics remind me a lot of that style game.
The art style is great.
It's fantastic.
And I've heard everybody talking about it being kind of, I don't know, based off of an original Cuphead. Mm-hmm. I can't admit to seeking that out and doing any sort of comparison. But the new Cuphead looks beautiful.
Keep talking. I have to let the dog out.
Oh yeah, no problem. It looks beautiful, and I haven't played it yet, but it seems beautiful. And God, what was the cost of it? Not much.
$20.
$20.
$20 on Steam. It's available on Good Old Games, which Good Old Games is my new favorite platform since Humble Bundle.
Yeah, they sell it. They sell everything DRM free,
yeah,
and at very, very, very reasonable prices. I've never been ashamed to buy any game that I once used to own physical copies of.
Right.
Now digital at regular price without waiting for it to go on sale, because they're all reasonable.
Yeah.
So it's on Good Old Games, Steam, and yeah, I don't know. 1 million copies in 2 weeks. That is a freaking success story that I hope we get to hear more of. Because that is an impressive feat. Nobody sells that unless you're a AAA, developer. I think
totally,
Call of Duty probably does that, but they're assholes.
But they're Call of Duty and they're Activision, and more to your point, that they're an indie game and they're DRM free, and again to my point that they didn't say that pre-order from GameStop and you'll get this special Cuphead pair of gloves.
Or the big thing that you see on Steam all the time is like, buy our early access title and then we'll never update it again.
Right, and get one free gun. They didn't pull any of that crap, and it's proof that that market still works.
Yeah.
I won't say I don't buy DLC. If the game is worth it and the DLC seems worth it, I will buy it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I bought all of the DLC for Fallout 3 when that was released. I bought all of the DLC for Skyrim.
Yeah.
I bought I bought the season pass for Fallout 4 because I had great expectations. A little bit let down. One of them was pretty good, but
I'm glad I haven't bought that yet.
Right. I will say it was a couple cosmetic and a couple missions, and only one of the missions was good. The Vault 88 building was fun, but it felt like more like playing Sims and less like Fallout.
Yeah.
But so like I said, I'm not afraid of buying DLC, and I will buy it if I deem it worthy of buying it.
Right.
What I don't like is the direction that developers are going with microtransactions and nickel and diming you to death with people who don't understand what that is.
This has been the big contention with loot crates in online games.
Is pay to win.
Pay to win.
Yep.
And a lot of people are trying to now classify loot crates as gambling, to do away with them entirely, which I'm all on board for. Tell people what they're buying. You know, there's a certain excitement to going to the store and buying your booster pack of Magic the Gathering or Pokemon and open it up, and it's like, but you know the odds. You're going to get 1 rare, you're going to get 3, uncommons, and then you're going to get 10 common cards or whatever. You know the odds.
Yep.
And therefore it's not gambling. But Loot Crate, you have, not Loot Crate, the subscription box service, but Loot Crates in games. You're playing Rocket League, or you're playing Overwatch, or you're playing Dota or League of Legends, and you buy a key for a chest to open it up, and you never know what you're going to get.
And not only that, but that item in game gives you an unfair advantage over players who have not paid. And that's my biggest problem. I'm not much of a multiplayer gamer. I get online occasionally. I really don't have time for it. I've got a family. I've got a full-time job. I do this now. Gosh, this is taking up so much time.
But nobody ever tells you that about starting a show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, it's... to me, it feels like they're nickel and diming people who, number one, don't understand how much money they're going to end up spending on this.
Yeah.
Number two, it's no longer an even playing field when you're playing online, especially if you're playing just for fun.
Yeah.
If you get online and you go, oh, let me jump onto the new Battlefront 2. That looks fun and exciting. I like Star Wars. And you get your ass handed to you time and time again from the people who have bought invincibility for 30 seconds and who upgraded their firepower 3 times on this, and who...
Well, not only that, but my biggest complaint with the first Star Wars Battlefront, I was stoked for this game. I'm a huge Star Wars nut, and I did buy it a little late to the game, so it's not like I paid full price, but I was going to. The fact that it doesn't work out saved me a little bit, because it was like a $70 or $80 game that was, in my mind, not complete.
Yeah.
It had like 4 maps that you could play multiplayer, and then like a handful of single player options that were pretty pathetic. Great display of the PS4's power.
I will say probably some of the best graphics and texture detail that I have ever seen in any game, bar none.
Doing the bike... Speeder bike. I was going to say scooter bike. Doing the speeder bike race through the Forest of Endor. Amazing graphical performance.
Yeah.
It looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I was going around all these different stores doing these hardware installations, and at the time they were doing Battlefront demos on all the TVs, and I just had to buy it, but I didn't get around to it till I bought it used. And I'm glad I did, because then it's like every 4 months or whatever, they're just like, by the way, $20 for these new pack of maps. Everybody's playing. I'm like, remember we could just go to the store, you could spend this much money, and you get all the maps?
Right.
And you get all the missions?
And all the glitches that came with it.
Right.
And we were okay with that. It was an okay market.
Just give us what we paid for.
Right. My problem is, number one, I'm going to say this, and I'm pointing at every single AAA developer out there. Not every game is worth $60. No, it's not. Number two, if I pay $60 for a game, and you're going to charge me $5 for X DLC or a cosmetic pack or whatever else, I'm not going to buy it. Flat out, I'm not going to buy it.
No.
I don't pre-order games anymore. There's no need to. I don't need to hunt down a physical copy. The last game that I stood in line for was GTA 4 for the Xbox 360. And by the way, when I stood in line at GameStop, they had a competition for NBA Street, and I hosed some 12-year-old punk who thought he was good at that. I completely mopped the floor with him. Anyway, and I end up getting like a cup and a bucket of popcorn and a candy or something like that.
Nice.
Anyway.
That 12-year-old kid has grown up to be a drug addict.
That's right. He is now probably 20 years old and going, God damn it, Jeff. I hate that guy. Anyway, I will not buy your cosmetic DLC. I will not buy weapon skins. I will not buy bandanas. I will not buy horse armor. No. I will not buy DLC that is not worth it.
Here's something that they don't seem to understand about their consumer base.
We're poor.
Not only are we poor, we consider our purchases carefully. We will buy a good product.
Totally.
We will buy it. A lot of these people, this is a testament from Cuphead. I don't know where I was going with that. But the fact that Cuphead is DRM free and all of this stuff, and a great product for a great price, people are going to buy it. People don't want to go and scour the web for the perfect torrent that isn't going to screw up their computer. They want to pay money for a good deal and never think about it again.
Right.
But you sell them a title for $50, $60, now it's getting up to $70, $80, and then you're nickel and dime them.
Oh, no. Buy the gold pack for $100 of Assassin's Creed, and you can get some special perks in single player.
Yeah,
that lets you advance quicker.
My friend was trying to get me on some game, and I'm not gonna say what it was, but he's trying to get me on some game, and he goes, "Yo, man, the base game is like $40." I'm like, "Oh, that's not bad." And he was telling me about it. Well, then I find out that it's an alpha. They freaking shipped this product in alpha to consoles. It's pretty common to have games ship in alpha on PC, especially on PC, in the indie market.
And even the early access market, it's usually $5, $10, maybe $15 if you're really going for it.
It worked for Minecraft because Minecraft was great.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for every freaking game.
Yeah.
Get your game playable. Okay, but not only that. It goes base games, $40. I look at it, it's early access. Okay, well, which one did you buy? He's like, oh, I bought the $130 one. I'm like, this is an early access. You bought a $130 package of whatever because it comes with X amount of points that you can spend. And
are you talking about Star Citizen?
No, I'm not. But the amount of money that people blow on Star Citizen.
Don't ask me about Star Citizen.
Have you?
Don't look at my bank account. Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh God.
The moment somebody showed me Star Citizen, I was blown away, and I was like, "How much?" They're like, "Oh, I kickstarted it. I pitched in $200." I'm like, wow, $200. And then I look at all the Kickstarter levels that people pitched money towards. And that game's never going to be done.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to tell you this. Yeah. Don't spend any money on Star Citizen. Go out and buy Elite Dangerous or any other space sim game.
I will say we're 4 days away from the alpha release of the full product.
Oh yeah, the alpha release.
We're totally there.
We're getting there. Yeah. You can go online. You can go look up this old school game called Freelancer. Freelancer Discovery Mod.
I said I own 3 ships. I'm sorry. It looks so good.
Yeah, it looks great. And someday you're going to be able to lay down in your little bed and plug into your avatar that's on board your spaceship and fly around. Someday.
And I'm not even hardcore into it. I know a guy personally. He's a good friend of mine who is $900 into it. No! Wrong! Yeah.
Look, you can go online right now. Look up Freelancer Discovery.
Yeah.
It's free. And it is based off of one of the best space sim games I ever played. It came out in 2001? 2000?
Freelancer's still a Chris Roberts game. It's the same guy.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Go and play Freelancer Discovery Mod. They've added like 1,000 planets, and it's like a free-to-play MMO. It's the best.
Does it have widescreen support?
I think it does.
Because Freelancer, the original, did not have widescreen.
The original did not. But that's because it came out when widescreen was a fad that was going to go away.
Right. We weren't even on LCD when I played Freelancer.
Yeah, I think it does. The mod has included widescreen support and a number of other things. Discovery mod is great, and I hold it to the highest standard. Star Citizen is a flaming pile of crap. I'm so sorry that you...
Ooh, those are frightened words.
Look, I was wooed by... Here's what I'm saying. Give us a product that we can spend money for and have it be done. Have it be done, for crying out loud.
I will say those 3 ships are really fun to fly against AI opponents.
Yeah, sure.
There's a qualifier there.
I'm a sucker for
I'm not gonna
space
lie.
sim. I'm a sucker for a space sim, but
Oh god, I love Descent Free Space. Did you play Free Space?
Free space rings a bell.
I
don't know. I
it
can't say that I have.
was it was right before Interplay was bought out and then thrown on the scrap heap, never to be remembered. Yeah, there was the original Descent games, which please tell me you played the original Descent games.
Yeah.
Okay. I played those without a joystick even. I played those on a 104 key keyboard, and I had that down. I could fly that spaceship as good as Chewie could, man. Man, I was hot with that.
You know, I mean, so many of the science fiction books I've read, they don't have joysticks to pilot the thing. It's just a bunch of keys. So
Totally.
You're probably more prepared than...
Totally. When the space apocalypse comes, I'm ready.
Screw the big ones.
Yeah.
Space apocalypse.
Space apocalypse.
Oh, what am I doing? Just drank out of the bottle. I'm a monster.
Oh. You heathen.
I know.
Gosh.
I was wondering, where's the aroma in the floral hint?
Whew. So, anyway, I think that's as good a place as any to end.
Yeah.
Wow, you have as... Man.
Yeah, what can I say?
That's about as poor as I did last week. I had some pretty bad ones last week.
Well, you know, you just outraged me. My hands are shaking after talking about Star Citizen.
I got you triggered by talking about how I backed Star Citizen.
Yeah. No, look, I don't blame you for backing any product that you enjoy. I encourage anybody to go and find a product on Kickstarter that they like. Crowdfunding is the way of the future, I firmly believe. And go ahead and pitch some money to it. Even if you're not at a level where you get something out of it, pitch in $1. You know, it's capitalistic democracy as it is. Put your money where your mouth is.
Very true. So. I've had many a Kickstarter that I backed that I completely forgot about, and then 6 months later I get this random package in the mail and goes,
"Oh yeah,
what is this thing?"
I just got a letter myself. I just got a letter myself that they're like, "Get ready to get your." I basically bought like a...
Thank you for helping us change the world.
Yeah, I know. This was like 18 months ago. I backed basically like a laptop shell that you plug your phone into.
Oh, you bought one of those?
Yeah, and I'm super stoked on it because it's looking promising.
Nice.
I stuck with it. And 18 months later, I'm going to get the product.
18 months later, I've got an injected molded piece of crap that...
Yeah, we'll see. It only, to be fair, I got it while there was a deal going on the Kickstarter. $100, and I get this with a bunch of cables and backlit keyboard. I got a bunch of free upgrades because I was supposed to be involved with the group that, you know, basically... is like the first 100, so that you open it up on Skype and you show them your first interactions with it, and they can help fix it.
Nice.
But because it kept failing and kept failing and kept failing, they like upgraded me to like backlit keyboard and like a bigger battery and all this sort of stuff.
Solid.
So we'll see what happens. It's supposed to be coming before the end of the year. And we'll see. It's coming from China, so.
Star Citizen's supposed to release before the end of the year, too. Mm-hmm. At least the alpha.
Yeah, 4 days away, supposedly.
Hey, you know what? They motion captured Mark Hamill.
Oh, good.
So. Don't you look at me like that.
Hey, you know what? I don't blame you, because Star Citizen captured my heart for like a solid 2 weeks while I debated if I was going to pitch any money into it.
Chris Roberts, you still have mine.
Look, and you have my imagination. So there you go.
And my axe. And I think that's as good a place as any to end. We're at an hour.
Yeah, we missed a couple things, but hey, that's the joy of going off the cuff.
Exactly.
Path, so.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. Rhett, I'm hoping you're a regular appearer on this show. John is certainly going to be, and we have a new guest joining us in another couple weeks. John's coming back next week, so if you enjoyed John, I don't know why you would. Come back next Wednesday, the day after Halloween, November 1st.
Ooh, exciting.
But,
yeah, everybody's going to be nursing their hangovers afterwards.
I know I will be. So anyway, thank you all for joining me every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for Talking Heads. This has been episode 3. I'm Jeff. I'm Rett. He's Rett. Thank you for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.